bitch miss me with that nonsense. You broke got nonsense. I bought hard like Dennis Ramen. No lying. I just fucked that bitch and then I nutted on her island. I smoke so much dope, my bitch be calling me a pothead.
What's going on, Vibe community? It's me, Leeson, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to LTA, or Let's Talk About, the series where I can talk about anything from trending topics to, well, whatever is suggested in the comments below. I was going to break out of my comfort zone for this video and actually get my webcam up and running, but, you know, since I'm too insecure about how I appear on video, that's obviously not an option anymore. Anyways, today's LTA is not going to be 17 minutes long. I'm honestly not making another 17-minute long video on a game that is mediocre as my nan's ability to breathe, and also I'm a lazy twat. Also, that's not the main focus of the video. This LTA is more focused on the community rather than the game itself. Plus, I wanted to get this video out already, so I've been holding off of this video for far too long. If you got a problem with that, we'll fucking scrap ya. Come down, Smethwick, I'll fucking smash you.
It's me, Fran. I'm fucking fuming. Took it too far this time.
Brush have humor. It's a great thing, isn't it? I'm getting sidetracked again. Anyways, for today's video, I'm going to be covering Deltarune and its fanbase. What? You're not impressed? Neither am I, to be honest. For those who live under a rock or are just not that epic of a gamer such as myself, you're probably asking, what is a Deltarune? Well, my good friend, Deltarune is made by Toby Fox, and if that name isn't familiar to you, then I'm sorry, Sonny Jim, you failed us. You must be game-ended. Toby Fox, as most of you know, is also the creator of Undertale, and as you know, that community spiraled out of control with NSFW pictures of the characters and whatnot. Like, the game was fairly good, but the community was straight up trash. But you see now, Toby hadn't learned from that. He himself hated the fanbase for things like that too, but he hadn't learned from his previous mistakes. And so he gave birth to Deltarune Chapter 1 on October 31st, 2018. Beautiful like that, Toby! He released it through the official Undertale Twitter with a link to a website having you to download an executable file which would then start up the game. At first you were given the choice to create your own character. Seems promising, but then it's just taken away from you. Yeah, the theme of this game is not being able to have a choice in whatever you do, and this is different from Undertale with the whole pacifist genocide route thing. That's mostly gone, although what is there doesn't affect the story, rather the other characters' views on you. The theme of no choice goes on for the entire game, and it's like you're being taken on a tour, let's say. I won't get into the whole story since that's spoiling the entire game, but I'll give you a whole rundown at the beginning. So after the quote-unquote OC creation screen, you're taken to a bedroom where our protagonist is, being called Chris by none other than Toriel, once again being the mother figure in this game. After getting rewarded with a fanfare after flushing the toilet a couple of times, you start the opening sequence of the game in Toriel's car. You get to see the townspeople within the town, and some of them may look familiar if you played Undertale before. After the sequence ending with you hungry goat mom, you get to your classroom with Alphys as the teacher, and you get to talk to all your classmates. Some of them being genuinely nice, and others who are just dickbags for the sake of being dickbags. Then enter Susie. Susie is so intimidating that even Alphys is afraid of her. Yeah, that's not surprising. Alphys, after forgetting the chalk for the chalkboard, then requests us to get some, and once we leave the classroom, we then see Susie holding the chalk and then eating it. Why? She then threatens us not to tell anyone else about the situation whilst holding us against the lockers, and afterwards she quote-unquote agrees to help us get the chalk for Alphys in the closet. After entering the closet, Susie points out that the room is abnormal, and saying that Alphys should find the chalk herself whilst heading for the exit. But then both are shut in the room. The pieces of paper fall along with Chris and Susie into what seems to be a bottomless pit. They are then transported to the Kingdom of Darkness, where they later meet up with each other and meet up with the Prince from the Darkness, Ralsei. According to Ralsei, in the Tale of Deltarune, 3 heroes of light must conquer the darkness, take on the enemies they face, and maintain the balance between light and dark once again. Now here, the plot is different to that of Undertale for sure. I actually preferred Undertale's plot a little more though. Why? Because personally I just think it's a better fucking plot, what can I say? Now that they finally got plot out of the way, time to move on to the gameplay, and to begin with, everything feels similar to Undertale, but once you finally get into the combat, everything changes. It's almost like a turn-based RPG, Final Fantasy, Persona, and that kind of stuff. Like Undertale, your soul is once again your life force, and you must move it around to dodge enemies' attacks. Plus you have Act in Mercy again, so yeah. Unlike Undertale though, it has a guard feature to defend against enemy attacks and to raise TP. A TP meter which shows how much points you have to use on spells and other special abilities, and a whole overhaul to the UI, look and feel of the combat system itself. I'd honestly say this department of the game was my favourite in my opinion. The new combat system is better than what Undertale's was. Undertale's combat system was similar to that of Earthbound. It was pretty simplistic and that's great and all, but it was a little bit monotone without all the colour it had in the overworld, with the only exception being a fight later on in Undertale if you're taking the pacifist or neutral route. With that, I definitely feel that this whole overhaul to the combat system in Deltarune is honestly better than what it was in Undertale. And finally, let's go on with the overall comparison between both Undertale and Deltarune. With Undertale, it was something that no one had ever seen in a long time, an RPG that was similar to Earthbound in terms of gameplay and game feel. For many longtime fans of Earthbound, they could dig this, and they did because of nostalgia. Let's Players played the game and that's what gave Undertale its popularity, but also it sadly gave it its downfall too. Undertale is a good game though, not the best, but it's good. With Deltarune it's nice and all, it's always nice to see a return, but I don't exactly get the same feeling with it. I mean, it's a good game in some aspects, but when you really get down to it, it's like one of those, this was okay games. Like, I literally played the game for an hour straight and I ended up getting bored of it. The combat system overhaul was great, the plot is decent, and the OST is just as good as Undertale's. But compared to other RPGs I played, it's mediocre at best. Although it is only chapter 1 of many chapters to come from the game itself, so who knows. Maybe I could change my opinion later when chapter 2 and the others come out, but until then I'll say Deltarune at least gets a 5 out of 10. Not a bad game by any means, but definitely not the greatest thing ever. Which leads me on to the second section of this video, talking about the community itself. Just like Undertale's community, for this section, I'm gonna go through the good, bad, and the worst of the Deltarune community. That's it, okay? Capiche? For the good side of the community, we have the artists who base their art on the characters of the game. In my opinion, they're not doing any harm to the game's reputation at all. In fact, they're actually trying to boost it. If they try to recreate the characters in their own style, it's fine. If they try to make OCs with the game in mind when creating them, that's also fine. I'll tell you what isn't fine in the art department later. Another part of the good side is the Let's Players, such as Jacksepticeye and others, who try to make a living off of making these videos and these kinds of indie games, and try to give the games its popularity. They can't exactly control their fan base though, which is how the reputations of the games could be destroyed, which is sadly a downside. But the Let's Players themselves don't try to ruin the rep of the games, which could be classed as the good side of the community. And that's pretty much it for the good, now for the bad, and I brought my good friend here, Mr. Hydrotoxic, creator of Sans and Fortnite. And he's going to talk about certain aspects of the Deltarune community, like the memes and other stuff. So, my good man, I'll hand it over to you.
First of all, thank you Leeson for letting me on your show. I am very grateful for that. As a small YouTuber, it really means a lot to me. Anyway, we're here to talk about memes. I'm here to talk about Deltarune memes, and why, in my opinion, they are total trash and unoriginal shit. I really like to categorize these Deltarune memes into, I would say, 3 sections. First one would be just putting soundtrack over something and saying haha Deltarune. Second one would be basically transforming other memes into Deltarune memes. For example, we have JoJo Part 5 Dance. It's now a Deltarune meme. There's also, and this one is kind of the most annoying one, and it's remember when this happened meme. This meme basically is, hey, remember in the game when this joke happened? Hey, remember that? To be honest, there probably are some good memes that I laughed to because they were actually funny. But that's the problem. There's not enough. Most of Deltarune memes just devolve into these 3 previous categories where it's just, remember this happened, putting a funny soundtrack over the game. And here's an actual good meme, which is a JoJo, so yeah, I'm a bit biased, but still, I do say there are shitty JoJos that are just bland as these Deltarune memes. But the problem is that Deltarune has majority of these bland memes, while JoJo's remotely reserved to like original joke creations out of the anime and changing the base material instead of just changing the paint of the house. Originally I was going to put a fanfiction reading here, but sadly I couldn't find any Rule 34 fanfiction, so until then I want to say thank you Marcus from Detroit Become Human for letting me on your show and to talk about memes and what am I doing with my life?
朋友是一个坚韧不拔的纪录片，在香港这座城市的设置。
Alright then, man that should be put in a mental asylum for thinking that I'm Marcus from Detroit Become Human, and for your questionable choice of clothing, thank you for giving us your time. So yeah, as Hydro had said, memes are sort of a bad thing about the Deltarune community, as most aren't that funny. It's not that the Deltarune community has a poor taste in humor necessarily, it's just that they go off another meme's material and just slaps the Deltarune seal of approval on it. So then it becomes a Deltarune meme, because that's how Mafia works. This doesn't mean that all the Deltarune memes are bad, just most of them are. Some can actually be funny and others can just steal the base material of a meme that's so common and generic. And so those other memes aren't exactly original, therefore not as funny. And also, as he mentioned, there are also these remember when this happened memes which take the context of the game and try to make a funny meme out of it. So for example, hey guys, remember when Susie said this to Chris? So funny! Hey guys, remember when you had the option to hug Ralsei and you did it? That was so cute. Lol. Guys, remember when Lancer said he was the villain? He's my favorite character now. Lamau. I don't fucking know. Anyways, speaking of favorites, also on this side of the community, you get the people who praise the game way too much for what it is. The game itself is mediocre, so I can't really understand why some people say it's the best game ever. There are clearly more games out there better than this one. Hell, I even said some that were better, like Final Fantasy or Persona. Those RPGs are definitely better than what Deltarune will ever be. And finally, we get to the worst part of the community. Thankfully, there is a rare case of you actually stumbling upon this community, so that's good, I suppose. So let's start off with the Rule 34 art, and there was a lot for Undertale, so why should Deltarune be an exception? For those unaware, Rule 34 goes as follows. If it exists, there is porn of it, and if there isn't, there always will be. Obviously, I'm not going to show any images or anything, because that would mean YouTube will beat my ass to a pulp. Also, it's disgusting, so don't search it up, kids. Last but not least, we get the fantasizers. These people are the worst. Yeah, worse than the Rule 34 artists. These people either say that they relate to the characters of the game, fantasize either about being with or say that they are the characters themselves, like Jesus Christ. You actually won't believe the people that say they are Susie. It is sad, I'm not gonna lie. But even in the worst case, these kinds of people are paltry compared to the kinds of people in this community that talk about having sex with the characters. Yeah. It's that bad. Hope you lot aren't one of those people. So overall, the Deltarune community is not the best community on the internet, but at least it's not as bad as the Roblox community, or the Fortnite community, or even the 4chan community. So at least it's better than those. Oh! Xenowolf community! Yeah, better than those four. Anyways, I think that this will have to be the end of this video, so thank you all so much for watching the third episode of LTA. Once again, I'm free for suggestions for what to talk about in an upcoming LTA episode. However, I've already chosen what I'll talk about for LTA episode 4, and I'll work on that video straight after this one. And a possible new sub-series may be around the corner, so keep an eye out for that. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. And until next time, see you guys. Leeson out.